Just imagine this for a second. You wake up, you grab your coffee, you sit down and open your laptop. And it's all gone. Every photo, every work file, all of your personal documents, just locked. And in their place is a single, terrifying message.
Yeah, that's not a scene from some cheesy hacker movie. It's a very, very real threat called ransomware, and honestly, it's become the internet's biggest villain. So let's dive into exactly what it is, how it works, and most importantly, how you can make sure it never happens to you.
All right, so first things first, what exactly are we dealing with here? Let's get to know the enemy. At its core, ransomware is a type of nasty software. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital kidnapper. It sneaks onto your computer, it grabs all of your important stuff, and it locks it all away in a digital vault that you cannot open. The only way to get the key, or so they claim, is to pay up.
And look, this isn't just a problem for you and me. The scale of this is just massive. We've seen hospitals that can't access patient records, schools getting completely shut down, and huge corporations brought to a grinding halt. You might remember the 2024 attack on Change Healthcare. That disrupted medical services for an entire country. It's a full-blown crisis, and it proves nobody is safe.
So how does this digital kidnapper actually get in the door? Well, let's break down the anatomy of a typical attack, because it almost always unfolds in 3 predictable stages.
It all starts with a simple trick. That trick then leads to a hidden infection, and that, of course, ends with the ransom demand. If you can understand these 3 steps, you're already halfway to building a solid defense.
Step 1 is the trick, and it usually shows up in your inbox as a phishing email. And man, have these things gotten convincing. They're designed to look exactly like a legitimate alert from a company you already trust. You know, like Microsoft warning you about your account, or DHL saying there's a problem with a package. All they need is for you to make one little mistake, one wrong click.
Because that one click is all it takes to kick off step 2, the infection. The malware just downloads silently, completely in the background. You won't see a pop-up, you won't get an error message, nothing. But while you're going about your day, it's quietly, systematically, locking up everything from your tax returns to your most precious family photos.
And then, finally, step 3, the ransom. That dreaded note pops up on your screen, often with a scary countdown timer just to dial up the pressure. But today's attackers have added this really nasty twist called double extortion. See, they don't just lock your files anymore. They steal a copy first. So now the threat isn't just about losing your data. It's about having all your private information leaked online for the whole world to see if you don't pay. So you're probably wondering, why has this suddenly exploded? Why is it everywhere? Well, the answer is pretty simple, actually. The criminals got organized. They turned it into a business, and they've made it incredibly easy for just about anyone to get in on the action.
This whole concept is called ransomware as a service, or RaaS for short. Here's how it works. You have these expert developers who create the really sophisticated ransomware tools, and then they just rent them out to other less skilled criminals for a monthly subscription or maybe a cut of the ransom money. And just like that, the barrier to entry for becoming a cyber criminal, it's pretty much gone.
Honestly, the absolute best way to think about it is like this. It's Uber for hackers. You don't need to know how to build the car or write the complex navigation software. You just sign up on some dark web portal, you pay your fee, and boom, you can start launching these incredibly damaging attacks right away. And that is why we're seeing so many of them. Okay, enough of the scary stuff. Here's the good news. Defending yourself is actually way simpler than you might think. So let's talk about building your personal ransomware shield. It all comes down to following 7 golden rules. That's it, just 7. And we're not talking about complicated technical secrets here. These are simple, powerful habits that, when you put them together, make you an incredibly tough target for these attackers. So here they are, your layers of defense. First, just be skeptical. Think twice before clicking any link or opening an attachment. Second, keep absolutely everything updated. You know those software updates? They're not just for new emojis. They're patching the exact security holes that hackers love to exploit. Of course, have a good modern antivirus. Now, the next one is the big one. Back up your files. We're going to talk more about that in a second. And finally, the everyday essentials. Turn on multi-factor authentication everywhere you can. That's the little code you get on your phone to prove it's really you. And please, use a password manager. Put together, these habits create a seriously powerful shield.
Now, listen up. If you only do one thing from that list,
Please make it this. The 3-2-1 backup rule is your absolute superpower against ransomware. It's simple. Have 3 copies of your data on 2 different types of devices with at least one of those copies stored completely off-site, like in the cloud. Why is this so powerful? Because if a hacker locks up your computer, it doesn't matter. You just wipe the machine, restore from your clean backup, and move on. They have zero power over you.
But let's imagine the absolute worst-case scenario. Despite all your best efforts, an attack somehow gets through. What do you do then? Well, there is one final absolutely critical rule you have to follow.
So what happens if you see that horrible ransom note pop up on your screen? What is the right move?
Do not pay. I really cannot stress this enough. It might feel like the quickest, easiest way out of a terrible situation, but I promise you it's the absolute worst thing you can do.
And here's why. First, every dollar you pay directly funds their criminal operation, which lets them go out and attack more people. Second, there's absolutely no guarantee you'll get your files back. Remember, you're dealing with criminals here. And third, and this is a big one, you are essentially putting a giant flashing sign on your digital back that says, "Hey, I pay ransoms," which makes you a prime target for the next attack.
Look, I know cybersecurity can feel really overwhelming, but here's the reality. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be a security expert. If you just put 4 of these 7 simple rules into practice, you are already dramatically safer than the vast majority of people online.
So, there you have it. You now understand the threat. You know how it works, and you know exactly what to do to stop it. You're officially smarter than most hackers' targets. So the only question left is, which one of these powerful habits are you going to start today?